All right, guys. So I ask you guys to try to give it a shot at modeling this, right? I mean, okay, so how can I do this? All right, what are some of the tools that are there? Some of you guys are on media class right now. Some of you guys are in graphics class. Maybe you're starting to learn a few commands in Rhino. The reality, though, is that just because we go through the Rhino manual or we go through lessons doesn't really mean that we're learning how to apply those same concepts outside of that particular exercise or lab that you're working on, right? So I want you guys to remind you that this is all free, right? I mean, this is all very, very flexible, and just like any craft, any craftsman uses his tools or her tools in a particular way. We use software the same way, right? I mean, we learn a certain method, but that is just a technique, okay? One of the most important things that I want to talk about right here, and how maybe you can simplify, really simplify the way that you go about modeling this. Let me disable right now this cut. All right. Select clipping planes. That would be it. Okay. So I made this up right now yesterday, real quick, right? I mean, just out of points, right? So how can that be, right? Well, with this cloud of points, and this goes back to even your Studio One when we do that full exercise of point, lines, planes. If you start breaking down your objects, right, and I'm gonna maybe reference Dana's right here, she's to my right. If you start really breaking down your model, right, into more of its points and then these lines, and this one's kind of a more evident because Dana's just using lines, but you can start defining these points right here, so that, right, maybe if I come somewhere over here, right, now if I start using the command multipoints right there, so right click on that, and you know, I started from my top view, so I can start doing that right here. Let me, what layer am I on? Let me try purple for right now. Actually, let me create a new layer right here, and then call this points, right? And then let's give this something really bright as such, make it active, right? And again, we type points. Okay, and I start doing, you know, I'll go by what she has right there. Maybe I'll do start with 1. I can then copy right here, make those 2, right? Select those 2 and copy them right here, right? So from there, right, and this is also important that you start working in all your 4 viewports, right? This is my front view, right? So from there, I can now copy this, right, and bring them up. And start doing that right there. Okay, so we have only that right now, so let me zoom to that right there. Okay, now her model, right, and let's say that I'm talking about this particular piece right here, right? So I created sort of this frame, right, the 1 2 3 4 and then 4 more dots. Now what else is in her model? Well, there's actually this other set of points, right? Now, what I like about those set of points, and they're a little bit more organic, right? They're not so arranged. And this guys right here, as you can see, how many points do you see right there on this selection? 1. Okay. In reality, it's actually 2, right? Why? Because they're stacked on top of each other. Okay. Now, these are the other 4 points that I just created. Right? Now, those is what give this particular design the sense of verticality. Right? What does that mean? Well, I can then lift them up. I kind of do that. And then even from there, I can start maybe making this a little bit more interesting, as kind of like Dana has done it with hers. Right? Maybe lift this up a little bit. Right? These 2. Come over here, maybe lift them up a little bit. And just for fun, this one even a little bit higher. Okay? Well, again, that gives us points, right? Maybe I create a new layer called, let's say, surfaces, right? And we'll give this a different color, right? Something like that. We'll make it active, right? Those are my surfaces. There's this command called surface point, right? It's that one right there, srf pt, and that command is this one right here, It's a surface from 3 or 4 corners. So again, what's the name of it? Surface from 3 or 4 corners. Okay, why do I point that out? Well, because check this out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so you start kind of creating that right there. These ones are a little bit easier because again they're orthogonal, meaning that they're on the same plane. I don't know if you can see there's some, we're starting to get getting some of these weird bends, right? You can kind of see it right there. Right? I mean, these are not on the same plane. I don't know if you see, we can see part of the surface right there, but not anymore here. So I mean, and you can see it actually on the top view, right? It's kind of like twisting. Correct. That's the right term right there. In this case, the bottom is not, but it's the same logic applies, right? So repeat the command, surface from 4 points right here. Do that right there. Real quick, I'll go around, finish this one right there. Let's make sure that we're snapping to the right points. Okay, so then bring this right here, right there. Okay, right there, right there, right there. Okay, so neat, right? I'm gonna do a copy, just because again I like to, you know, take you guys through all of the steps and have a record of my own steps. So I make a copy. Yes, Fernando?
Is there a way group them?
Exactly. That's the right question right there. So we made a copy, right? So these are all individual what? Surfaces. Okay. We want to create now what's called a poly surface. Okay. Let's say also that I'm going to cap this for right now. I'm not sure what Dana is doing with her design. I'm just going to take it from here. So again, surface point, right? Now I want to stress out that it's surface point from how many points? 3 or 4, right? That means I can do 1, 2, 3, right click, and I'm done. I don't have to do the 4 point, right? So 1, 2, 3. Whoops. But see, for example, there, I snapped. No, yeah, I snapped to the right location right there. So I have capped that. I'm gonna come right here to the bottom and snap and cap it as well from the bottom for right now. Okay. So right. So remember, if it's 4 points, it will close automatically, right? So 1, 2, 3, and at the 4th one, it's gonna close. If you're only doing 3, 1, 2, 3, on the 3rd one, right, you need to do a right click or an enter to tell it, it's like, hey, or tell it it's a 3-pointed surface. Okay. So we delete those. Now Fernanda's question is the right question, right? Okay, so I have all of the surfaces. Now what you want to do is you want to turn it into a poly surface. Okay. So that's very simple, right? We select everything and we just type what? Join. Yeah, you were right. Join. And we join them. Right? This is now one single object. Again, it's not group. Okay, group is just like group is like grabbing a bunch of objects and putting it in your drawer. They're still separate. I mean, you just group them into a box, into a drawer. Right? Joining them, you're kind of welding it, you're kind of gluing them, right? They become one single component. Okay, so group and like Legos, yeah, in a way, but Legos you can still kind of put them apart, but you can also explode forms. Now what's neat about that, right, let's see if it's going to work right here. Let's see if it's going to work. Let's see if I turn the points on, or if I select the object, type points on. Let's see, it doesn't really work right there, but there's this other command, right? If you hold Control Shift and then click on stuff, right? Now Bibi knows about this, right? You can start pulling stuff, and I'm gonna repeat that again, okay? So if you press Control Shift and you left click, that means you select something, right? You can start pushing and pulling.
Make sure you drag the arrow.
Make sure that you drag.
Left click. Left click.
Oh, I guess I see. Rather than the object?
Yeah, because it doesn't make a difference.
It does it different than what you want. Yeah, always. That's why, I mean, having the gumball on is super helpful. So I'll repeat that. So again, Control Shift. It's kind of like a combo. All right. So I'm holding both Control Shift and then the selection click, which is your left click. All right. Allows you to select specific. Right. So if I click right now on the object like that, one single click selects everything. Why? because it's joined, right? Because it's all joined together, right? Now this is called the direct selection tool, right? I mean, it's Control Shift. It might have a more technical name, but we can call this the direct selection. That, hey, I just want to select that vertice right there. Okay. Now once I select it, I can start manipulating it. And if you look on your bottom left corner, right, look what starts happening. You have 90-degree corners right here, but if I start moving some of that right there, I start getting some more dynamic forms. Okay. Now I can do that with vertices, right, which is Control Shift, select that, or I can actually do it with faces, right? So again, if I hold Control Shift and click, right, and then I pull this right here, I can pull that face out, okay, which is sort of an extrusion. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna keep doing right here. So this should remind you, right, of that command, inflate. You guys remember? So I can select that vertice right there, push it right there. Look at your bottom left or your bottom right, right, on the right view. Look how it's changing right there. Wink, 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 wink. Right? So it does that right there. And so you have that beautiful stuff right there. Let's see. I don't know. Let's for simplicity's sakes, let's say that let me create a new form. I don't know. Let's create something else. So it's like do mine. All right. So maybe let's see what happens right here on the front. Right. What happens if I do maybe something oh, let me get on the right layer. So let's do more points right here. We'll go to the points layer, right? I want to create now the portion that would be inside, that is going to hold the ashes. Okay, so let's say maybe that I do something like that, right? And then maybe it just comes out. And again, the cool thing about this is that we can then manipulate it and change it. Now, notice, where am I drawing right now? On the front. Okay, so if I come over here, these points are all now stacked. If I look at them from the top, you're right, they're all aligned on the same plane right here. Right, so what happens if I copy them? And if I select them, kind of bring them over here. I'm holding Shift right there. Let me keep track of my original one. Right, so let me put them right side by side. Right, because again, the idea is that these points now are going to give me a container right here that I'm going to insert into this form. Now again, I want to make this a little bit more dynamic, so I'm going to maybe graph, let's say that point, maybe push it out a little bit. This other point right here, push it out a little bit. Okay, neat. What happens if I maybe tie these ones up a little bit? Right, select that one, move on closer a little bit. Okay, neat. What happens if I maybe close this up a little bit? And again, we can later on come back and edit them perhaps, right? So let's go back at it, right? So maybe I'll do surfaces. Maybe we call this the base volume A surfaces. Copy this, Control copy, create a new layer, base volume B surfaces. Let's give this a different color. Alright, so we link right there, make it active. And then again, what was the command for the surfaces? Surface point is the abbreviation for the command, and again, the name of it is, it's technically called, it's right here, surface from 3 or 4 corners. Yeah, and you see, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but notice my cursor right now is on the icon. Watch what's going to happen when I click on the icon to my command line. Okay, so I'm going to click on the icon. All right, it tells me that the command, and that's a way that you can start learning the shortcuts, right, for any command, any icon, or any action that you perform in Rhino. Right, so it tells you right here without the underscore, right? You don't have to insert the underscore, but for example, we know that, hey, SRFPT is the shortcut for surface from 3 to 4 points. So let's start making maybe some surfaces, right? So let's create maybe that right there, great. And maybe create that right there. Okay, good. And maybe that right there. Right there. And again, right now I'm just kind of making this up. I mean, I don't have study models like you guys do. So you guys have it a little bit easier because you have something that is guiding you, and you have something that you're looking at. Like you guys have your models right in front of you that you're more or less trying to mimic. Okay, so I come over here, right, start doing that right there. Okay, do that right there. I start doing that, for example, and one last one. Start doing that. Okay, so we have now maybe another object that will go inside of that. So, oh, actually I'm missing some parts right here, which is kind of like the neck. It's okay. Over here, bring them up. I think that's what I was trying to do. But let's see. And actually, let me delete this one since we actually want it to be that. So kind of like the neck of the base. If you look at this like a flower base or something, that again kind of like this connection to the skies, right, Fernanda? Yes. More here. Join them right here. Sorry, not join, but right. So then I can copy these. All right. And then I'm gonna maybe turn off these points, select all of that right here, so that again I like to just keep track of my steps, right? So that means that I end up with a bunch of other forms, but that's okay. So again, how do I connect them? I can select them and we type what? Join. All right, so we join them. Okay, now I can start looking. Okay, so I have them both on the axonometric view or perspective, and then on the top view. Let's see what happens, right? I mean, if I start moving this, right, now kind of inserting it inside. Okay, and it's like, okay, so that's kind of working, right? I would like this to be a little bit, you know, slimmer, I guess, if that's the right term. So remember, I can select right here on the same gumball, right? Maybe just shorten it a little bit.
So that's in Control G, right?
No, that's just with the gumball. So once you select an object, this is the gumball right here. Remember that turns on. Yeah. So with the gumball, you can move, right? You can rotate, right? Or you can scale. Right, those handles right there. Except that I want this to be way smaller, and what happened? Oh, yeah. So that's good, right? Because what happened?
It didn't join.
Well, yeah, it didn't join. Why?
Because you didn't select it.
Because I didn't select it, and apparently, oh, and then I already changed the form, right? So that's okay. I can type surface point right there, remake it. Right, I'm just gonna have to change. Oh no, the layer is correct. Okay, and if that happens, these are already polished surfaces. I can just add it to it, right? But again, join. Right. Okay, it's always good practice to just type merge all faces. It just connects them. Right now, it doesn't make a big difference, but later on, I'll show you guys what it does, or I can point it out. So again, let me maybe shrink this a little bit. Maybe also this position, and then kind of bring it over here because I'd like for it to kind of come out like that, and maybe something like that. But I don't know. I think actually I would remove this part. I don't like how that's looking, but doesn't matter, right? I have that. Okay, good so far. Okay. Huh? Oh yeah, right. Alright guys, so then from there there's a bunch of other commands that we can start using. Okay, so for example, I said that I don't like that part right there. I don't like that top portion. Well, what happens if I type trim, right? Select cutting objects. What if the pair cuts the top portion right there? You see?
Wait, how do you do that?
All right, I'll repeat. All right, so I'll Control Z to undo. Very simple, just trim. All right, so type trim, enter. All right, so the cutting object would be the green because it denotes, right, where the right. So I select the green right there, and then it asks me select objects to trim. Right, so I want to delete that right there. Right, so right click. Okay, now what does that allow me? Well, I can now, right, let's see if this is gonna work. Well, I can type trim again. Now the cutting object would be the purple, right? And then let's see if I can remove this green top right here. Right, ta-da, now I can look inside. Right, now I have that right there. Mind blown. Thank you. Right, and then we should start using this kind of technical view right here. Right, this is gonna allow you. Whoa, that's very faint, but you know you can start seeing what's going on right there. Yeah, I mean that's all on the layers right here. And let's see, that kind of changed it a little bit. I guess even better, I can maybe change the background. Options, appearance, colors, background, dark black. Let's see. Whoa. Okay, that looks kind of cool. She like told you. Alright, and then hey, what happened? Did I not apply it? Okay. So then one more time, black. Okay, and then okay. All right, so maybe we can start seeing it there. All right, and that's the opening right there. So shaded. We'll go back to shaded. Okay. Now, right now, there's still different components. Right, there's still different elements. Okay. Now let's join them one more time. So join. Right. You can see now that they inherit. Right? Now it's all one single piece. And again, let me bring in move our clipping plane. Actually, let me create a new clipping plane just to show you guys what we can do. So again, this is the one of the big components of this exercise is to start training ourselves into, again, thinking sectionally, and also how to visualize what's inside of things, right? What's the inner space of stuff, right? So we have a tool for that. It's called clipping plane. All right, this tool is going to be super helpful for you guys in order to develop floor plans and sections for all your other projects. And let me show you guys how it works. And it just does that, right? It does a clipping plane that allows you to hide certain stuff. Okay, so clipping plane. All right, we create a clipping plane, first corner of the rectangle. Okay, so and actually for that I might have some nifty oops, not that one. All right, I'm gonna have. Right, so again, we're kind of doing this, right? It's kind of like you take a pepper right there and then you slice it. We're trying to look through the inside. Okay, so we need to define, right, what's called, right, the cutting plane, right? So we have this diagram right here of this house, right? And if we want to get this section cut, right, we need to define this picture plane, right, which is what's slicing it, right, correctly, right? So we need to draw it. Now, if we need to want to get a vertical section, right, how do we draw that plane? Well, vertically, right, vertically as well, aligned to that view. Okay, so let me show you guys like that right here. Why does that matter? Because I need to draw that plane from my front view. Right, so I'll do that. Now notice, right, that this clipping plane, it doesn't have to be the same size of the form, right? It's just a, well, here, let me do it first, maybe the full size right here. Boom. All right, so I'm on the front view. Yes. Not sure why I didn't change the appearance right here. Options, appearance, color. Let's see, to view, display modes, and then shaded, and then there you go. Okay. All right, guys. And then let's actually even create a new layer for it, right? Let's call this our clipping plane. Okay, I'm gonna use this maybe like an orange for the clipping plane. Select the clipping plane and change the color. All right, guys. So right now I'm gonna move this guy right here. All right, and it's not doing anything. All right, at least not yet. Okay, but let's look at this plane right here. Okay, so what is it? It's a rectangle. And what else does it have? Yeah, kinda, right? Kind of an axis. Well, definitely has axis, right? But what is this? All right. Well, let's find out. Let's find out, all right? It's like Pinocchio, right? I mean, it's like, yeah. All right, let's find out. Okay. So what was this called again? What did we draw? A clipping plane. Okay. So if you go up here to visibility, right up here, visibility, you have some tools, right? So there's that one right there, add clipping plane, which is what we just did right now, right? First corner. Now, right next to it, right? So add clipping plane. Right next to it, you have disable and enable clipping plane. Okay. So we want to enable it. So that would be what click? The right click, right? Enable it, right? So I right click on that icon. Now, what's it asking me for? Select the clipping plane, right? So I select that clipping plane right there. Press enter when done. I press enter, right? And nothing happens. Okay. So let's see what happens now if I move the clipping plane. Right? What's happening now? Yeah, that's a good point, right? It's kind of like shaving it. It's okay. It's not doing anything later. Technically, it's not doing anything. It's kind of like an illusion, right? I mean, it's not drawing anything. It's just hiding stuff, right? But that's a good observation, right? Yes, look, right? It does your entire area, right? So it does all of that. Okay, guys. So I asked you guys about this thing right here. Then, so what is that?
It's
Thank you so much, Brian. Give this man another lollipop or something, right? All right. What does it mean? Okay, guys, check this out. So if I go back to my top view, exactly, it's called the direction of the view. Okay, so clipping plane is just like any other object. I can select it with the gumball, right? I can rotate it on this axis 180 degrees, right? And what happened? Right, now I'm looking at the other direction. Okay, let's say now that I wanted to actually maybe do some sort of a floor plan, right? Well, pseudo floor plan. What happens is now rotate this 90 degrees, right? So I am now cutting through it on this axis as such. Okay, so I can start having all of these different studies, right, on this form. Huh? Yeah, does that kind of like puts the pieces together a little bit easier? It's easier to visualize now. Yeah, and well, again, remember a lot of the assignments and problems that you're gonna face, in general in architecture, they're just problems, and for the most part, there's a procedure for it. So always try to find, and that's why I say break down components into its minimal parts, right? So tackle them by simple steps, rather than trying to rather the question is like, oh man, how do I draw all of this? Right? Well, you start kind of like doing planes and it's not working. It's like, okay, maybe you start asking, how is this put together? Right? Oh, okay, so it's a series of points, right? Then they're connected by lines, and then I know, right? But you need to familiarize yourself with certain commands, and that's what I'm trying to kind of like throw at you right here, right now. Okay, guys, so this was what again?
That is the absence of
Well, yes, but it's called the clipping plane, right? So we go back to this area right here. Now, Bibi pointed out something good, right? I mean, it's like, hey, does it matter that it's cutting the other objects, right? I mean, because I don't know. I mean, I don't want to maybe mess with this other stuff right here. I told her, yes. I mean, actually, in reality, it's not really cutting anything. It's just visually hiding stuff for us. Okay. So what does that mean? Okay. So what if you're like, okay, let me go back, right? I need to work with stuff over here. I need to see now back my entire model. How do we do that? Well, the same, right? We go back up here. Now we enabled it. Now we want to disable it, right? So we left click on it, select clipping planes, right? That's the clipping plane, right click, and then everything comes back up. If that's on the way, right? I mean, I can just, so that's why I like to even draw them tiny, right? Because let's see this one more time. Okay, what happens if I make the clipping plane really tiny like that? And actually I just move it out here. All right, would that work the same? Well, let's find out. I want to enable it. All right, select the clipping plane, right click, and there it is. So it doesn't have to be the size of the object that you want to cut. As you can see, it actually is shooting all the way over here, and it's just this tiny little controller. And it's a kind of infinite. Yeah, it's kind of infinite. And again, the size and the position as well. It doesn't have to be right on top of the objects that you want to cut. Okay, so that's also important to kind of point out. Again, I'm going to disable it. Right, so we go back to normal. Okay, but now Munoz said, right, that we're only going to model half of it. So that actually means that now I do want to just cut this object. Okay, so let's say that maybe let's create now. Oops, you're good. Let's call this now a trim plane. I create now another object. Let's give this maybe some sort of a red right here, and then we'll come back to this layer. Let me bring this tube down. Plane. There you go. Okay, so now that's active. Okay, now I actually do want to cut them. I mean, now I do want to study it in half of it. Okay, so the way that we can do that, let's select this object. Right, I like to go to standard and then zoom selected all viewports. That's the right click. So that again, if I come back over here. Like again, right there, it's yellow, but here it's not even there. It's somewhere actually over here. Right? So if I want to zoom to this object in all of my viewports simultaneously, I select it, go back here, right click, and then it zooms to it in all viewports. Okay. Why do I want to do that? Well, because I want to come back now into my front view. I want to draw a plane. And rather than doing surface from 3 or 4 points, there's this one right here, rectangular plane, corner to corner. Right, so I can maybe draw that. Okay, so we have that. Now it's in the front. So what happens if I select it and move it? Right, try to find that half point right there. Okay, so it's actually now going to help us trim this out. Okay, so let's see. I'm wondering. I know how it will work. I know trim would work. I'm just really curious if Boolean would work. I don't know, but let's find out. Boolean split. Okay, Boolean split. Let's try that. Select surfaces, approach surfaces to split. That's what we want to split. Select cutting surfaces. That would be it. Okay. All right, guys. So it actually seems that it worked. So I'm gonna select that and hide it. So I type hide, and then select half. See, it did split it. And so select that and hide it. Enter. And then now we have that. It just chops it into different pieces right there. And yeah, okay. I'll go back. Like boo. like B-O-O. Like boo. Alright guys, one more time. So we create a new layer called the trim plane, or maybe even the split plane, since we're doing like a Boolean split, but you know, either works. So we create our, now for this one, I'm pretty sure it does have to be the size of the object that you're trying to split. Notice here, for example, actually, this is actually good that it's pointing out what's happening right here. Like what? Like I haven't split anything, and that's the object. Why am I seeing right here?
Oh, because you can get from the front view.
Huh? No. Just look, right? What's happening? So right there, in the perspective view, the object looks in like fully right here too, but here.
That's the front view.
No, actually, what's happening is that the clipping plane acts per viewports. So it's deactivated in all these viewports except for this one. I think so. Let's see, right? Because if I select it now, oh, here, let's go back to visibility, disable the clipping plane, right? Select it now on this viewport right here, right click, there we go. Okay, so that I'm glad that actually that came out because we disabled the clipping plane in our perspective, which is where we were working, but it wasn't disabled on the other viewports. Okay, Ali? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That I don't know if there's a disable all. I don't know. I don't see that. I think you have to do it per viewport. Like for example, let's say no, we'll try it right now. But let me go back to that that Boolean split because I think that's what Idali was asking for. Okay, so we create a plane that is a surface that is gonna help us split this in half. I position it right here. Before I do that, I just want to talk about actually these lines. Do you guys know what these lines are here? Do you guys ever wonder that? Why you see those lines? Yeah, it's kind of like the surface axis. Yeah, that's kind of like a good way of putting it. Kind of. It's a geometry that the software uses to build the surfaces, right? Those are called your iso curves. Okay. Now, if you select an object, right, you go back to properties. Properties, and then you scroll down right here, show surface isocurve. If they annoy you for any reason, you can turn them off right there, and they go away. Okay. Now I point that out because I'm actually going to use it, right? So I go back to select the object, show them, so that I use that. So kind of like what maybe mentioned, right? Kind of like the axis of the, or what do you use? The axis or the, yeah, right? The axis of the object. So I'm going to use that as a guide, and I'm going to place the plane somewhat centered on that line, right? So I'm going to use it as a reference. You see, I'm kind of placing it on where that line happens, because that will be more or less technically the half point or the center point of the object. But I'm just using it as a reference, okay? That's it. Okay, so the plane is now intersecting the objects that I want to split. What was the command one more time? Boolean split. Okay, so enter. Now there's a few order of operations right here. Select surfaces or polysurfaces to split. What do we want to split? The pair. I want to slice the pair. That's a good analogy. So press enter when done. Now notice, right, it's asking you right here, you want to delete input. All right. So right now I set to yes. Let's see what happens. So enter. Right. Select cutting surface or polysurfaces. Right. Delete input is equal to yes. So what's the cutting surface? The red. Right. So we select that. Press enter when done. Right. And then that happens. Not sure why it's not deleting the input. It's actually something that's helpful. Right. But I'm not gonna delete them. I'm gonna use hide. So, but you can see now that I can click on them separately, right? So if I select the first half of the pair and type hide, enter, I can even start seeing that profile. I select the clip plane, or actually I can even turn off its layer. Actually, it's no, because it's activated. I'm just gonna hide it, and there we have that. And that would be, you know, what you guys would be casting. Okay, and that's half of the model itself. Yeah, so I bring that show right there. And let's see what else. Now from there, right, it's all about now how do you create this mold, right? How do you now work with it. But before we actually get there, you know, I mean, I like for you guys to keep trying, you know, modeling this. And again, just to maybe recap, maybe I can use another model over here. Let me hide the grid. So select it. Okay. So again, guys, this idea of the points, right? The point, kind of like a cloud of points. Right? We start combining them. This guy right here was a. I think I just drew this one right here. Is interesting, right? This one. Maybe I'll just take you guys through that one. Here I just typed polyline. So we start doing kind of. So I was doing some sort of pentagonal form like that. Okay, and then from there, right, I can extrude it, right? Oops. What's going on? Okay. This is not working. Okay, so I made a copy of it, right? But I could. Why is it not extruding, BB? BB, why is this not working? Okay. Okay. Right. So let's see. So you guys know how to make a quick copy, right? So you select the object, right? You hold Alt and then you move, right? And then you create a copy. So I created a copy of those guys right there. I can then, for example, again, shrink this a little bit, make this a little bit smaller, right? Maybe even I can rotate it a little bit, maybe just to give it some variety. And from there, we can work with loft. And we can create that loft right there. It's giving us a direction right there, right? And it does that. Gives us that right there. So that's loft. Okay, so that was loft. And again, what if I want to close that lid right there? I mean, I want to cap it. Right? So that's the command cap. Enter. Select the object. Enter, and then it caps it for you. Now, again, remember, I have that form, but if I do Control Shift Select, I can select those vertices and I can further, right, manipulate. Whoops, but that was the wrong form. Let me delete the curves. So that was a curve. Let's delete that. Curve, delete that. So again, Control Shift, select the edge, right, and I can manipulate this even more. Or Control Shift, select the edge, right, bring this up. Start doing kind of that right there. Control Shift Select. I can do both of them at the same time. And starts doing kind of that. You want to start avoiding this. Again, you got to remember that you're going to build this, so you also don't go too crazy on it, right? On the exploration. Don't go beyond your model making capabilities. At the same time, do challenge yourself, right? I mean, you may not have everything figured out. It's like, man, could I model that exactly? I don't know. I'm going to find out. But you know, don't start kind of, you know, I guess don't push it too much. Okay, you know, just a little bit. Okay, so then that's that form. Now there's another tool that I know that perhaps might help you guys. Let's say that I wanted to punch. Why do you want to punch Brad? Why do you want to punch Brad? Sorry, Brian, you were sitting right next to me. All right, let's follow me with this one, right? Let me change this. Bless you. Let's change this layer right here. Hey, calm down, guys. Right, so we're almost done. Let me use this right here. Let me scale this. Oops. Let me scale this on this. No, not on that axis. So let's do that right there. Alright, let's do that. Let's say that now I want to maybe bring this right here. Bring that right there. maybe slide it down a little bit. Do that. Let's see if this is gonna work. Oh, and then let's make it come out. So again, remember, I'm grabbing this handles right here, right? Oops. Right, and it stretches that way. And then I want to make a hole right there. Let's see if this is gonna work. Now we also have Boolean difference, right? Boolean difference. Let's see if this works. Now surfaces to subtract from would be the red. And while you guys take notes, I'm gonna copy this so that I don't lose those forms. I'm gonna make a copy right here to the side. We'll play with this one. So again, Boolean difference. Right, select the object to subtract from, object to subtract with, right? And then what does that do? Right? It creates a hole. Recenter this, and we have that right there. Okay. So that I can also see some of you guys using that tool. Now you don't have to take it all the way through, right? What do I mean? That you can also kind of maybe bring it like that, or maybe even what happens if I start doing something a little bit more fun, and maybe start doing something like that, and then maybe even oops. So again, oops. Let's just try that. Something like that. So again, Boolean difference, right? Objects to subtract from, enter, subtract with, enter, and we get now that cavity right there. That one, I didn't select that one, so that's why it's not cutting through that. Okay. So we have that right there. As I was saying, you don't have to take it all the way through. It can just be like a little notch. Right, so let's say if I bring it there, Boolean difference, right? Subtract from this guy with this object right here, and now it's subtracted from, but it doesn't go all the way through. So it's just like a little indentation, and it's just kind of like a little niche or a little perforation right there. And then from there, I mean, I think we should be able to select this edges right there, and then you can even manipulate them more. But be careful, because again, you're gonna start getting some funky stuff. So I recommend to start doing that. There's one more tool that I think might be helpful as well. Let's see. Let's say that I wanted to draw a square right on top of this surface. Right? So what do I mean? I'm gonna go to rectangle right here, and again, I want to draw a little, and I'm not sure if it's gonna work at that surface, because here I did it right here. Let me delete this guy. Because this is kind of like a weird form. Alright, let me try it with this one right here. Let me move this out of the way. Okay. Let's say that I wanted to draw a window right here, or an opening. Okay, so I draw my rectangle tool, right, and I start doing, let me jump on a different layer so that maybe you can see this better. I lost control of all my layers, but that's okay. So rectangle, right, enter, right, and I draw a rectangle, right? But what happens? Huh? Yeah, what happened? What's this magic, right? What's this? So it looks like it's there. The angle of what? It looks like it's on it, right? I don't know if that has happened to you, right? And it's like, oh, it's working, everything's fine, and it's either like it's really far behind, it's flying, it's somewhere else. Okay, so without going too much into it, what happens is that by default, anything that you draw, right? Let's say a circle, right? What's happening, right? Everything is on our ground, right? On our zero, right? Any of you guys know how that's called? Right? That's called our Seaplane. Right? Let me turn on the grid so that you can see. Right? So the grid is on the Seaplane. C as in construction. Right? So that's our construction plane. Right? So let me turn back off the grid. So anything that I draw, be in a box, right? Let's say that I'm going to click over here. It's like a box floating somewhere there. Everything ends up being grounded. Okay. Now you can actually change that. Okay. The way that we do that is that we reset the C-plane. Okay. So if you actually go to View, Set C-plane. Again, what does the C stand for?
Ground.
The C?
Oh.
Yes, the other C, right? Construction, right? So set C-plane. Now there's all sorts of options right here, but we can actually do an object. Okay, so to object, that's that option right there. So set C-plane to object. Okay, now select object to orient C-plane to. I'm gonna select this face right here, right? And it looks like nothing happened, right? But exactly, right? Now if I turn back on the grid, show grid, the grid has been rotated. Not only that, but let me hide the grid one more time. Now if I type rectangle, right, let's see if it works. So I'm working right here on the bottom right here, and I do that. Is it gonna work? It is. All right, so it's aligned to it. From there I can do extrude curve, right, and then it would go through like that. Not only that, but also the gumball orientation changes. Whoops. All right. So now I can move this right here. All right. So I want you guys to look at this really closely. Okay. So right now I select this object. I select the gumball. I can move it on its axis. Right. Look at this. The axis right there, the green and the red, where they're at. How do I go back to normal? Well, we go to View, Set C-plane. Right. We can do Worldtop. Right. Notice that this changed. Now I'm going to go back to this object and notice how the gumball changed. Right. Now the upper is not sliding anymore on its axis. It's sliding on the world axis. You guys see that?
Yeah.
It's kind of really well. It's important because it can help you a lot. Right. Again, hey, but I just want to slice this through it, right, through its axis. Well, we need to set back the C-plane. Right. So View, Set C-plane, Object. Right, again, that's the object right there that gives us the plane. Now notice the gumball, how it changed, right? And now you can slice it through it. Okay, so and you can do that through any face. Now the reason why I didn't try it over here is because there's some weird bend. I don't know if you guys can see. I mean, it's not like a flat plane. I'm curious if that would work. Set C-plane, object. That's the object. I mean, it did something. It's kind of like set right there, but still. And I can do that. But you see, that's kind of what I meant. That surface is not flat, and you see how there's this little peel. But you know. Yeah, well, it's because the surface is not flat. It's not. You know, I don't know if you guys, it has that shadow right here. The way actually that you could fix that, and the way that probably we should do, I don't know if you guys know about extract surface, right? So right click there, we select the surface, right click, and notice that everything else still good, but this one has been extracted. What does that mean? I can then lift it up, and I have opened it. Okay, now again here you can very clearly see how this form bends. The way that you can actually, I don't know if it's a word, but geometry size that is that this is actually two triangles, right? So what I mean, if I go back to this layer, I think it's this one, surface point, right? And then I do two surfaces of 3 points, right? That's the first one, and that's the second one. That's rationalizing this kink that I have right here. And so that's why this one was bent, right? Because it was trying to fit through 4 points that are not on the same plane. And that's why you actually can see now that the points, right, where that object touches, right, that's that cavity that it had right there. So anyway, in case that can help you. Visually it has almost the same effect, but it's still different. So actually you can see right there on its left, right, with that 4, it's kind of like bendy. This one has been rationalized into 2 triangles, so simplified into 2 triangles. Okay, so that's the extraction. All right, guys. Questions. Actually, maybe I should open up for questions. Don't forget, if you move your Seaplane, I would really recommend that you send it back, because again, if you do another thing, you try to do something else, right? It's gonna be on that other plane, okay? Which is interesting, but maybe not what you're looking for. So, view, set view. I'm sorry, set Seaplane, Worldtop, and we go back to normal, regular view. All right, guys. Questions, perhaps something that you see right there on your model? Yes.
If we don't have like a container inside of the urn, can we create one?
Yeah.
Yeah, can we add like extra things?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is your design, so yeah. But it's really, for me, it's really important. The success of your project is going to heavily depend on you following a certain process derived from your studies. That all the work that we've been doing throughout the second half of the semester of the analysis of the techniques is not just something that, oh, okay, cool, that was great, and then I'm going to start doing now my own thing, which it is, yeah, your own, but for me, it's how you apply what you learn from there, and again, you follow this kind of process, right? So again, looking back to the techniques, right there, that like the ones that, Dana, can you pass me that one right there? That one right there. These are the little the right, send me right now. All right, okay. So I'm inflating, right, which is the esfumado, right, pointillism, pinching, right, so that again, right now, again, I'm just kind of like freestyling it right here on my screen. I don't have anything that is guiding me, but you guys do, right? So I want your actions to be driven, right, by your studies so far, so that it's an intelligent design and not so much like oh, that looks cool. I mean, definitely judge it, and you're the one driving, and you're the one that has to say, well, I mean, I like this or I like that. But also, we'll use your research. But in terms of modeling, is there something perhaps that you see right there that, okay, how would you do this? How would you do that? Yeah? Okay. Okay, guys. Well, I'm gonna pause this. I'm gonna upload this, but we still have about an hour left of class, and so that now you guys are back on your laptops. Should we give this a try now that we're all here?
Yes.
Okay, guys. Good, good.